All right, y'all. We back at it. This your brother Cornell Dudes with the Dudes Perspective. And I'm hanging out with my main man, Mr. Henry Brim.
What's
Right?
going on?
Yeah. So Henry, last week you and I we got together and we had a conversation that we shared publicly, right? Um, we was really just talking about our experience of being um, in the show, correct?
That's correct.
Shortcut show production, um, Dr. Lamar Donnell Shields, um, his baby, right?
Mm.
And with Brother Mark, who directed, and some phenomenal people who participated. But you and I, we just talked about how our brotherhood and friendship was established there. And from that experience, you and I talked about getting together and just continuing the conversation and continuing to build brotherhood. You and I had a lot in common, as with everyone else who was part of the cast.
Mhm.
Um, but one of the commonalities that you and I both shared that we wanted to expand on was doing podcasting
Yes, sir.
and just talking and prayerfully sharing some things publicly with people, to be inspired, to be encouraged, to be entertained. And when we get together, we're gonna cause some people to laugh as well, right? Because I see you got your real you real slick. Hey, baby, you real slick today with your tie on and all that. I
Nah,
see.
see, see,
I
see.
see. I see.
That's for the three cameras, brother. You know what I mean?
I see you got your goatee shaped out your
Yeah,
little
you
beard.
know,
I see.
yeah.
I see. I see you.
But I see you throw a curveball on me today, though.
I threw a
You
curveball
throw a
on you.
curveball,
What
yo.
was the curveball?
Now he got us with microphones. Now he gonna say, "Press the button till it turn blue." How the heck am I supposed to know when the daggone thing is blue? You know, so
we
always try
got
to set
we
me up.
got microphones. Yeah, we're a real
So,
podcast.
so next week you gonna have your own cognac or something?
Yeah,
The dude's perspective cognac or
I
something?
might.
Man?
I might. Ain't no telling.
That's
Ain't
what it
no
is.
telling.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, baby?
I'm well.
All right.
How about yourself,
That's my wife. She just came in and spoke to my main man,
Mr. Brown? When I
Mr.
become Mr.
Bro.
Brown, you know
Yeah,
you old ones.
yeah,
You
yeah.
Mr.
We
Brown.
respectful around here.
That's what's
We
up.
respectful. But look,
So let's talk about how you had me on a therapy session all week long.
let's talk, Henry.
Let,
Go
let,
ahead.
let's get into this.
Okay, go ahead, Henry.
This is November Men's Health Awareness
Yes,
Month,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
And there are a lot of issues, that we deal with on a daily basis that we don't even talk about. Most of the time, not even to ourselves. We bury a lot of things, but I want you to let them know the editorial that you wrote, and let's dive into these questions, man.
Okay. All right. Let's do that, Henry. So look, it's a great segue. I wrote an editorial some time ago that you can find on the dudesperspective.com. It was entitled, or it is entitled, Suffering in Silence, right? Suffering in Silence. And I wrote it from the perspective as men who don't share. Henry, we don't share our emotions, our feelings, what we're dealing with. I wrote it from the perspective of how a lot of us carry baggage.
Yes.
Right? There were things that may have transpired in our lives when we were kids that we can't shake. It may have been something that's not, that transpired last week and we didn't like the way we responded, or the lack of response that we gave to the matter, and we suppressed it, right? And we know that we tend to do that a lot as men. We just suppress different feelings until we either implode or explode,
Yes.
right? Whether we reveal it or not, verbally or in a healthy manner, at some point in time, it's going to rear its ugly head, right? I know as a special educator, I tell my wife this, Henry. You would hear kids say, "Mr. Dudes, that's a trigger for me," right? And I never even considered what may trigger me, or if I had any triggers at all, right, Henry? Until working with children, and they made me realize, man, because I had to look inward and say, you know what? I've responded in a manner that I don't think was the best manner. You know what I mean? Over something so simple or something so small or minute. Right, Henry?
I know, like for me, I was always told it's not what you say, especially in a relationship.
Yes, sir.
It's not what you say, it's how you say
It's how
it,
you
like
say
our
it.
tone
Yes, sir.
and things of that nature. And for me, I know one of my triggers, and I didn't realize it until later, until I got older. Like I hate when someone cuts me off, or I can't get my thoughts or my point across,
Yes, sir.
and you just keep cutting me off.
Yes.
And I remember as a kid, like my heart getting all tight, like if you just let me explain, just let me explain, and I think that's one of the questions that we're going to get to.
Yes, sir.
Is being misunderstood.
Being
like
misunderstood. Yes,
oftentimes, I always feel misunderstood. Like if you just let me get it all out, instead of you interrupting me, then maybe you understand where I'm coming from. But I do want to share this before we get to the questions.
Yes, sir.
I was 17 years old, and I met this wonderful lady. She's still a great mentor to me now.
Okay.
Wanda Ross, and she always told me, she told me when I was 17, that it's better to understand than to be understood. And I didn't get it when I was 17. But then when I got older, I realized that if we just spend a little bit more effort understanding where someone is coming from,
yes, sir,
that's half the battle right there.
Yes, sir.
That's instead of just assuming that we know the answer, or just assuming someone is in this situation because of X, Y, Z.
Yes, sir.
Let's take the time to understand where that person is coming from, and that way they not always be considered an at-risk child or a victim of your circumstances, man. So, man, what you wrote is powerful, and we need to discuss it.
So look, let me say this.
Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
We're recording. You gonna come in? No. That's not saying you can't say anything. Yes, ma'am. Of course. I'm just letting you know we're recording. Come on, baby.
Marcia gave us cheese.
I thought you were saying something about what Henry was saying. All right, hold on.
Commercial break.
Yeah, hold on to that. Thank you, Marcia. Though. All right, man. I thought she was adding to our conversation. Henry.
She said it. Can I say something?
Yeah, I thought she wanted to try. But look, allow me to say this though. What you just said, right, Henry? Sometimes I know this. I realized this at 52, and I realize it more at my age now than I did when I was younger. Sometimes I don't always have the words, the vocabulary to articulate what I feel, right? And sometimes when we talk about being misunderstood, sometimes it causes me to be more frustrated not having the words to articulate those feelings, right? But what I share, and I share this with my wife of 26 years, man, and I shared this with you before we got on camera, that January 2026, man, we'll be together, God willing, for 30 years.
That's
right?
A blessing,
man.
And
it is a blessing, truly indeed, right? But with that being said, I've shared with my wife over the years, I said, baby, just because I don't have the words to articulate how I feel, don't negate the fact that I feel. You know what I mean, Henry? Because, sometimes, man, and you probably had this experience with people, not just our significant others, but people in general. Sometimes they may say, well, tell me how you feel, right? And you trying to say it, but baby, I don't have the vocabulary right now to articulate. I might not even have words at all to be able to express this feeling, but that still doesn't negate the fact that I feel. Because, sometimes, let me fit just this right here, Henry, because sometimes a person will be like, well, if you can't tell me how you feel, then it must not mean that you must don't. No. I just don't have the capacity right now. I might be too heightened. I might be too whatever emotional at the time to be able to. And then when I try to, or I'm unsuccessful at doing it, it causes greater deal of frustration. I'm sorry, Henry.
No. You hit it dead on, because we need to stop mislabeling what we are feeling.
Yes, sir.
Just because we trying to give an answer to a certain situation, and you're right, sometimes we don't know how we're feeling, and our children are teaching us that now, because a lot of times you go ask your child, what's going on, and they don't know, and then we get frustrated as parents. Why don't you know? You should know. But in all honesty, sometimes we genuinely don't know.
I don't know.
Give me a minute. Give me a minute to process. And I think a lot of times, especially in relationships,
yes, sir.
I know as men,
yes, sir,
we have to go into this. I call it the the process mode where we got to actually process what we are feeling, especially if it's a new feeling or there's a feeling that's attached to a situation. Like, why am I feeling that way? Because in your mind, I should not be feeling emotional about this. That's weak. I'm a
right, because that's what they told us. Yeah,
so sometimes you gotta shut down
yes, sir.
in order to process what you're going through.
Yes, sir.
But men, it's important that we don't stay shut down.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. My man. So, all right, look, with that being said, boy, yeah. So we wrote this, I wrote this editorial, Suffering in Silence. And I created some questions, right? Especially for this month, right? For awareness, men's awareness, right? And we talking about being aware about our mental, emotional state, our spiritual state, our physical state, our financial state, right, Henry?
Yes, sir.
Just as men being aware. But this particular editorial was dealing with mental and emotional state. And there are a month worth of questions that I attached to this editorial that once again you can read at thedudesperspective.com or go to our social media page. You can look it up at Cornell Dudes on Facebook. But we're going to get into these questions. The goal and objective, let me say this. Henry and I, we got together talking about something in common. I shared this idea that I had with Henry, and Henry was like, man, I was already thinking about doing this. You know, he said, man, we come together and do this collectively, right? So our goal and objective, we're going to offer a Zoom link next week. It won't just be Henry and I sitting here engaging in a conversation, but prayerfully, it'll be us and several other men who are comfortable enough to engage in this conversation about feelings and emotions and a safe space. That's ultimately what we're trying to do, is create a safe space for men to be unguarded, transparent, and vulnerable. Not just with us, but with themselves, more importantly. And prayerfully, this exercise will make them be more comfortable engaging their significant others and other people, their children, their parents, friends, just other people moving forward. So this is all with the intentions of bettering ourselves. There are 7 questions. We're going to start with the first question. Henry and I, we shared our questions with, our responses to these questions with one another. As we talk about it, we want you as men to think about it, right? And start a journal yourself and start jotting the answers down, because we're going to do this for the next, until the end of the month. All right, so here's the first question. The first week is about awareness altogether. Day 1. The first question is, what emotions do I often hide from others and why? Right? What emotions do I often hide from others and why? Henry, you wanna share?
Sure.
Okay.
The one emotion that came to my mind first was insecurity. What man wants to show the world or anyone that they are insecure?
Yes, sir.
And what I wrote was, insecurity gives birth to a lot of other feelings: fear, shame, guilt, unworthy. So these are a lot of feelings that come underneath of the umbrella. Now this is for me.
Yes, sir.
And being insecure, and I don't know when exactly insecurity started playing a role in my life. I know going blind had a major impact.
Yes, sir.
On me being insecure. Now, on the surface, you may think that Henry got it together, wearing that mask, that I have it together. But internally, a lot of times I was very insecure about different things, how I look or what I have on, or, things, because again, I have to rely on other people.
Yes, sir.
To tell me if I dress nice or if I look decent. But that's not even the true source of insecurity, man. When you are insecure, for me, missing out on a lot of opportunities or being afraid to step up and be yourself.
Yes, sir.
You talking about like being an Israelite stuck in the wilderness, man. I was stuck in my own head or my own space.
Yes, sir.
For years because of my insecurity. It impacted me, and it impacted my relationships. It impacted jobs that I had. So insecurity was a very big feeling that I know for a fact I've held on to for many years. And those are some of the results that impacted my life around me because I was insecure.
Yes, sir. And you're not alone with that feeling, right, Henry? I know my response to this question, vulnerability, right? And I went on to say that we've been taught to not share our true feelings, right? As men, we've been made to believe that most people aren't even interested in our feelings, right? Or at least we use that as a cop out for not sharing. And as a man, we know this. Society has made us feel, and you just alluded to this earlier. Society has made us feel that it's weak to express your feelings as men,
Correct.
right? As if we aren't supposed to feel. You know what I mean? Like, so we just suppress, and we suppress our feelings until we can't suppress them no more. And then, as I said earlier, we either implode or we explode. You know what I mean, Henry?
Correct.
Either or, it's going to be some damage done. First and foremost, the damage is going to be done to us, and then, or even as we're damaging and being harmful to ourselves, we're being damaging and harmful to all the other relationships that we're in as well.
Absolutely.
You know, so just growing to be comfortable, man, being vulnerable, man, being transparent, being honest with yourself, man. You know what I mean, Henry?
I remember when I was losing my sight. I was about 7 years old. Speaking of like holding your feelings and all that stuff, and we playing, and my blind tail tripped over the curb, and I bust my head on the bottom step. My father was like, "Boy, just get up." You know, I'm blood just gushing out.
No, that's real. No, that's real.
But but we like just get up. Like, no, I just bust my head,
Right.
dude.
Right.
And he contemplating, should I go to the emergency room? And I had to end up getting 7 stitches.
Right.
But I just recall how often we tell our sons to suck it up. To not cry. What are you crying for? What you and then we start shutting ourselves down as as males at a very young age, because we don't want to appear to be weak
and soft. Yeah. And you know, as a parent too, and as a boy, growing up, but more so as an adult, I now think that a lot of times our father saw our response as a reflection on them. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, Henry?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like if we appear to be quote unquote weak by societal standards, then it's a reflection on them.
I'm not doing a good job as a father.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think that tends to happen with a lot of different things, being parents, especially in our community.
You're right.
It's like a reflection on us, so because everybody want to make it about them more so than about the individual. You know what I mean? The child that's experiencing whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that, and like your father, like mine, and like many men of that generation, that's how they were raised and that's how they were brought up, not to show weakness. But it's, and when I say weakness, though they can't see me, I'm doing it in air quotes, not to show weakness, and it's nothing about being expressive of your emotions, man. Really, that takes strength.
It does.
And before we go to the second question, I'll just finish by saying this, Henry. Like, I actually think emotional intelligence is the type of intelligence that don't get enough credit. You know what I mean? To be emotionally intelligent, you know what type of strength that shows? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that speaks volumes to me. Because it could be someone who has all these intellectual gifts, but be disconnected emotionally.
Brother, you're describing me, because for so long, I can overanalyze something in a heartbeat. I can make something sound right, even if I'm dead wrong. I can do those type of things. But wearing those masks can become so exhausting.
Yes, sir.
It's so much freer to be your authentic self. It's so much freer to be in tune with your emotions and being in tune with who you are.
Yes, sir.
And when you're disconnected from that inner part of who you are,
yes, sir.
And we were talking about this off camera about the need to be people pleasing.
Yes, sir.
Like,
yes, sir.
You always feeling this need to get validation externally, and not realizing that God has already made you perfectly in His image.
Yes, sir.
You're wonderfully, perfectly already made who you are, but we're so used to wanting to look or be or feel or think like everyone else. It's okay to be an individual. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to think outside the box.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I'm loving it now. But at 25, 15 years old, listen, you know.
We just said, and I told you, one of my brothers said, he said, man, you seeking validation from man. He said, man, you should be seeking validation from God. You know what I mean? And you just spoke to that. Here's the second question, Henry. And I'm gonna share it. I'll share this publicly. I'm gonna read the question. Here's the second question. It says, describe a moment when you felt proud of yourself. What emotions come up when you think about a moment you felt proud of yourself?
Man.
Well, I